Fantasy Football Warriors. Welcome to the Fantasy Football Warriors podcast. This is Eddie Bravo, Tank Sinatra. We're continuing here with the next slate of games for Week 12, and we're going to start with Lions, Colts. Of note here, I mean, what can you say? Lions offense is absolutely clicking. I feel like the Lions are one of the hottest teams right now.
Without a doubt.
And they're going against
Colts.
going to beat the Colts.
Yep.
I mean,
so
what's not to love there if you're a owner, if you have shares of Lions players? I mean,
absolutely. The Colts are slightly negative against the run, but for a team as dominant in the running game as the Lions, that turns into a positive matchup, to be honest with you. And they're slightly positive against the pass, and we're looking at EPA per pass as well. So for a team that just torched the Jaguars last week to such a significant degree, yeah, it's certainly exciting. And Amon-Ra, St. Brown, Jared Goff, Gibbs, Montgomery, all must starts this week.
Absolutely.
Sam Laporta right now carries the kind of questionable tag, but what I'm seeing as of Wednesday is he's trending in the right direction. Not that he's been a strong person in your lineup as of this season, but he's had his weeks, and there's been some good matchups, or I guess performances from tight ends this season against the Colts. So there is reason to believe that if you're in need of Sam Laporta's services, I mean, he could deliver this week. It's just kind of hard to say because his role has kind of been all over the place. He's still been really, really good when you look at his per route metrics. He's still been the elite player we saw last season, but the kind of emergence of Jameson Williams this season has really limited him.
Yeah, it's hindered him for sure.
It's kind of been sad for Sam Laporta because, I mean, it's not like Jameson Williams has been that much fun for fantasy football.
Especially where you had to draft him.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Luckily, in all my leagues, I didn't draft any Sam Laporta, so it doesn't hurt me on a personal level, but I can still feel it for all the owners that definitely drafted Sam Laporta. Had to, pretty much a droppable player, just any other streamer.
Yeah,
right?
He's like any other tight end right now. It's
for sure
pretty sad for where you had to draft
Jameson
him.
Williams, strong start this week against the Colts. He could definitely get going. Have a similar week as last week. On the Colts side of things, Lions are a dominant defense in all facets of the game. 31st in EPA per play allowed, 32nd in EPA per pass allowed, 24th in EPA per rush allowed. So you can get a more room in the running game, but not significant. It's just about as bad as you can get from a matchup perspective.
If you've got Johnny Taylor, volume can probably get you there.
Yeah, running backs with at least 15 opportunities are averaging 17.1 fantasy points per game. So it's
not
there.
Sit Johnny Taylor.
Yeah, right? He's a strong start. Strong start here. For Anthony Richardson, there's only been 2 instances the entire season of a quarterback having anything significant. There's been some fine performances because teams are having to stay aggressive, where in that 12 to 18 range, where it's like, okay, well that's fine, but you definitely want your quarterbacks to be having over 20 fantasy points.
Yeah.
And it's only happened twice this season with Geno Smith and Mason Rudolph, of all people. So maybe Anthony Richardson could kind of build off of last week, statistically speaking, right? I don't know how good of a game he's really going to have, but from a statistics perspective, teams are just having to stay aggressive. He's going to have to throw. He's going to have to try to score points. So, and garbage time comes up. Right. There's always that perspective as well. But I think there's got to be better options out there than Anthony Richardson this week. You'd like to see another week if he can put together a solid performance. This is absolutely a brutal matchup, and it would be hard for me to strongly say that he's going to build off of last week, right? So I think he should be set.
Yeah, I think that if you would think that there's better options on your waiver wire, but as we talked about in our last video, if you have a strong vindication towards Anthony Richardson, there is opportunity here, right? If you want to play him, there's opportunity here, right? He is going, there's no doubt that they're going to have to
play
stay
offense.
Aggressive.
Yeah.
They're going to be playing catch up. There's no doubt in my mind, right? He's going to be throwing. If Shane Steichen, right? Shane Steichen, if he's dialing him up to run and be aggressive, there is opportunity here. Especially, there is no doubt in my mind that we could enter a game here where the Lions are just trouncing the Colts right? Get off to a big lead. Lions decide to, bring their starters out, and it's garbage time galore there at the end for Anthony Richardson. So, opportunities there, but proceed with caution.
As far as Josh Downs goes, primary slot receivers of note are averaging 21.5 PPR fantasy points against the Detroit Lions. When I say slot receivers of note, I am talking about Jackson Smith-Njigba, Cooper Kupp, CeeDee Lamb, and Chris Godwin. All have had really strong performances playing primarily from the slot. Josh Downs obviously plays primarily from the slot, and he's been performing well. He looked fine with Richardson last week.
Yep.
I think, just like Taylor, Josh Downs warrants a strong start, maybe even a must start, just considering how dominant good slot receivers have been against the Lions.
I'd keep him active this week.
And Josh Downs has been one of those dominant slot receivers this season. So dial up Josh Downs as a strong start. I would not be afraid of the matchup here.
There's
Taylor
no defense
Downs.
that's allowed more to the slot than the Lions this season. So I would not shy away from playing Josh Downs.
I think he, like I said, must start consideration there for Josh Downs. That is Detroit versus the Colts as we head into this next matchup. Not as exciting, but Patriots at Dolphins.
Dolphins.
Supply a fine game. Dolphins and Patriots are kind of neutral all around. You've kind of got slight positives here, slight negatives here, but it all kind of boils down to a pretty neutral matchup. There's nothing that bounces out as, oh, this is an extremely positive matchup or extremely negative matchup. It's kind of neutral, so your playmakers that you've been playing from these teams, stick with them. Don't seek out tertiary options. There's nothing here that's saying that that's a good idea. Since week 6, Hunter Henry leads the Patriots in target share, which that is the week Drake May took over, and Demario Douglas is second with 16.5%. So he's spreading the ball around. No one has over a 20% target share, but Hunter Henry does lead the team in target share, and I think that warrants weekly consideration for Hunter Henry. So Drake May and Hunter Henry, I have a strong starts this week. You had a note?
Yeah, he's got a. I think I lost it here, but Hunter Henry has a very high first read target rate.
Yep.
So Drake May is looking for him. So if you got Hunter Henry, you can play him.
Kind of reminds me, this just popped in my head. This wasn't even something I thought about or had in my notes here. Justin Herbert's rookie season, he had Hunter Henry with him on the Chargers. And do you remember the dominant season Hunter Henry had with the Chargers?
I do.
Herbert's rookie season. That just kind of popped in my head. And when you look at Drake May and Justin Herbert, they kind of have similar-ish builds. I wouldn't say they play similarly, but both having fine rookie seasons and both providing Hunter Henry with fantasy value. I just know it's a little connection I just put together there.
It's like we always talk about, like, when you have a rookie quarterback, you want him to have a best friend out there.
Yep.
You want him to either have a elite wide receiver, or you want him to have a security blanket.
Yep.
A security blanket tight end, and that's kind of what Hunter Henry is doing for him. So,
absolutely. Devon Achane, Tyreek Hill, I think are must starts this week. Achane's obviously a must start every week. Tyreek Hill had a good
shadow coverage.
Yeah, Tyreek Hill put together a pretty good week last week. This is, like I said, kind of a positive neutral matchup. It's actually the by EPA per pass, Patriots are 8th, so it's actually a top 8 matchup in terms of overall passing efficiency allowed. So Tyreek Hill should be able to get moving. Christian Gonzalez had a good start to the season. It was definitely, you had the Chris Gonzalez factor every time we played the Patriots, but
it's
over
not,
this last second half, it just hasn't been a factor.
Continued.
Hasn't at all. No. So I wouldn't be worried about that. Jalen Waddle is a no factor. I think he can pretty much be dropped in all formats. It's just not going to happen this season.
I don't think so either. Yeah, Hill, of note, last time they played the Patriots, went 9 for 6 and 69. However, that was a completely different situation. Tua was not the quarterback. The offense just looked stank, right? So this is going to be a completely different circumstance. Tua's back. I think Hill's probably in line for a good day.
The passing game should get going in this game. We just saw Matthew Stafford last week with 4 touchdowns. So Jonnu Smith, Tua, I think are strong plays as well. As I already mentioned, May and Henry strong starts. And I have Demario Douglas and Ramondre Stevenson, and that kind of flex consideration. Ramondre hasn't been doing much, hasn't looked super good. He's been getting a ton of touches, though, so it keeps him in that territory where you're starting him as a lower-end RB2 in the flex. And this it's a more negative matchup on the ground, but he's getting enough volume where you can feel okay about it. It's definitely not your favorite player to roster, but you'll be all right. Demario Douglas, like I said, is second on the team at target share. Could do worse.
Yes.
Bucs Giants.
Bucs Giants.
Now this
one,
sneaky.
This one has some
here.
sneaky,
Shootout
possibly
potential.
shootout potential.
We just need Tommy Cutlets to just lock in. If that boy can lock in, we could have a really fun game, if you can believe that. Buccaneers are third in EPA per pass allowed, slightly positive on the ground. Giants are top 10 in rush and pass EPA per allowed, and have the highest explosive rush rate allowed across the entire league. So, Baker Mayfield, Cade Otton, Mike Evans if he's active. I think he's trending towards playing.
I think so.
Monitor that, of course.
Yeah, he was supposed to come back for this week, but I haven't seen any official reporting yet that says
he's for sure playing.
Right.
I think he logged a limited practice, but I could be wrong. Anyway, all three of those players are must starts. I think there's room for Rachaad White and Bucky Irving to both have
room for both of them. Yeah,
really strong days. So I think they are strong starts. I prefer Bucky Irving if you have both, just because Bucky Irving's getting the carries, and against the team that's allowing the most explosive rush rates, Bucky Irving could go out there and have a really, really, really strong performance. And there's been some instances of receptions going the running back's way, but the Giants are allowing such high efficiency in the passing game that the checkdowns just haven't been there. And obviously that's kind of Rachaad White's game. That's how he makes his money. So there's definitely a risk factor with Rachaad White as far as his primary role goes, whereas Bucky Irving, his primary role is actually getting a plus. But I like I said, I think both could be strong starts here. Both could find room to have some fun, right?
If you go back to the Week 10, if you go back to Week 10 with the Niners, pretty sure they both had they both finished top 7 fantasy running backs that week.
Yeah, there's room.
There's definitely the potential there going against the Giants that they can both coexist and bring you what you need depending on which one you got.
Bucky Irving gets a bump if Mike Evans doesn't play, though. Like I said, the Giants are allowing high efficiency in the passing game, so if Baker has Mike Evans back, he might not be looking for Rachaad White, and it just might not be there. He'll have to make it off of carries, which is Bucky's main role. So like I said, there's just an avenue there where there is some risk with Rachaad White that just isn't there.
More than with Bucky.
Right?
Yep.
Anyway, Malik Neighbors, Tyrone Tracy, both must starts. They have strong matchups. Yep. Both are exceptional. Love to see it if you're a Giants fan, right? Pretty excited about that. Tommy Cutlets is hopefully we can get a little bit of an upgrade from Malik Neighbors, who's kind of lost a step here with Daniel Jones and really Andrew Thomas. Once Andrew Thomas went out, Malik Neighbors' production went down significantly, which just makes sense. You can see that with most number one receivers. If the protection doesn't hold up, they lose their target share. And for a player like Daniel Jones that struggles with the post-snap processing and being under pressure like that, you can just see how it cratered. But maybe Tommy Cutlets can stay in control a little bit better. This is a good matchup. And hopefully it means better days are ahead for Malik Neighbors as terms of his ceiling. He's already been fine. I think before the bye, 70 for 70. It's a fine performance.
Yeah, if you look at DeVito, his touchdown rate in 9 games last season was almost double of what Daniel Jones has done this season.
Yeah.
Right?
There's sneaky upside.
There's a slight, if you want to call it that, there's a slight upgrade here.
Yeah.
With
DeVito, yeah.
DeVito, it's
I'm excited.
Odd to say, but
I obviously loved Neighbors pre-draft, preseason. If you've been following us, I loved Neighbors.
Yep.
And then he went to the Giants, even better, right? And so obviously I have plenty of Neighbors because I really believed in the talent. So I'm excited as a Neighbors manager for sure.
Yeah.
With Tommy Cutlets providing a spark for this team a little bit so that you can get.
And the Giants could be chasing points here.
Oh yeah, they're gonna have to stay aggressive. They're gonna have to
stay. It's another, kind of Anthony Richardson situation. Colts, Lions, right? Yep. They're probably gonna be chasing points. They're gonna have to stay aggressive. DeVito's gonna have to be throwing.
Yep. And if he pieces together a good game, this game could shoot out very quickly.
Yep.
And for that reason, Mr. Tommy Cutlets, Tommy DeVito, I have as a frisky streamer this week. I think if we
did mention him
in a position here,
waiver, I think, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
I think we did.
This week we're immediate payoff. Frisky streamer here with Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, et cetera, on bye this week. You might need one. And why not have some fun with the Italian stallion, Tommy DeVito, coming in
why
for
not?
This premier matchup.
Because why not?
We're here to have fun, right? So Tommy DeVito is fun, unless he sucks, then it won't be very fun. But I think it could be fun. So Tommy DeVito, Frisky streamer.
If the stadium is out there doing this, it's gonna be a fun time.
I think so. love some Tommy DeVito. That's gonna do it for Bucs at Giants.
All right, moving on.
Commanders.
Cowboys Commanders. All right, so Jaden Daniels owners, do not fret. All right, I know Jaden Daniels has had a couple
rocky games.
Past 2 weeks.
Rib injury is
definitely a thing, but coming off the bye,
they weren't on bye last week.
They weren't on bye?
Nah. I know. I have Jaden Daniels.
I can't believe it. My notes. Unbelievable.
Anyway, not on bye.
Not on bye.
He played the Eagles last week. Yes, the Eagles last week. Anyway, this is a much better matchup than the Eagles are. The Eagles are sneakily one of the toughest receiver QB combos in the league over the last month to 6 weeks. Cowboys are not. Cowboys and Commanders are both first and second in EPA per rush allowed, respectively. And the Cowboys also are second in EPA per pass. So they are kind of cumulatively allowing the most efficient from a total offensive perspective, both in the running game and the passing game. Commanders, on the other hand, are 22nd in EPA per pass allowed. They've tightened up in the secondary over the last 6-8 weeks or however long. So absolutely a get-right spot for Jaden Daniels to find some efficient going. He's had a couple of tough matchups. I believe it was, over the last few weeks, like I said, Eagles. I think he played the Steelers a few weeks ago. So there's been a couple of tough matchups here as well on top of the injury. Gets much easier this week. So if you have Jaden Daniels, this should be a get-right spot. You should be fine. Commanders in whole should really, this is a cakewalk for him. It's every facet of the game, they should be just fine. So Terry McLaurin must start. Brian Robinson must start. Yep. I would say Zach Ertz and Austin Eckler, both are strong starts here. They should have their room. Austin Eckler's been really, really good in the receiving game. We kind of talked about that in the offseason, how the only time we've ever seen Austin Eckler be bad at football was coming off of that high ankle sprain last season. That's why I was fine with drafting him in later, because it was okay, but every player across the league looks bad after a high ankle sprain. So I don't know why Eckler got so much flack for it. It was I don't know.
Because people were expecting him to take that starting role.
Well, I'm talking last season.
Right, it was just people last were season, he was what? Who was there with him last season in the backfield?
He was with the Chargers last season.
Right, with the Chargers. People were expecting him to just be this RB1, and
I mean, he was. He didn't have competition for touches. He was just bad.
I know, because of the high ankle sprain. They were expecting him to be this.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Austin
obviously
Eckler,
you were expecting that, but no one going into this season, everyone was just saying
what the whole stink was, recency bias.
Yeah, everyone was like, oh, he's washed, but forgot about the injury.
Yeah.
So anyway, with that being said, he's looked really, really good if you've been playing the games, and he's getting great receiving work. I think last week it was 6 for 80, 8 for 80 or something like that in the receiving game. So in a matchup like this, Austin Eckler is absolutely strong start still. Really, the entire Commanders offense, I would be fine with getting them in your lineup. On the Cowboys side of things, however, Rico Dowdle is averaging 15 opportunities per game over the last month. As I mentioned before, Commanders are second in rush EPA per allowed. So he's, outside of Lamb, the only Cowboy I would be okay with starting.
He brings upside.
There's absolutely upside in a great matchup. He's been getting the touches over the last month. He could absolutely go out there and have a pretty good day. So
especially with 6 teams on bye.
Yeah, he's
got
high
Dowdle,
end flex.
throw him in there.
There's consideration here for him to get him in your lineup. CeeDee Lamb obviously is going to be held back in a tough matchup with poor quarterback play, but he's pretty much the entire passing attack. We saw last week against the Texans. He still put up a fine day. It wasn't anything crazy, but he's going to be the whole passing attack. You're starting him every week.
Volume will get you there.
Yeah, pretty much. The ceiling is absolutely capped, but
Man.
On most weeks, he's going to get enough work to at least warrant a start. So be fine with it. It sucks if you drafted CeeDee Lamb and this is what you're getting, but that's just where you're at.
That's where you're at.
Anything to add for these Cowboys at Commanders? Division rivalry.
No, we covered everyone, you know. Brian, Scary Terry, Jaden, Dowdle, Lamb.
Yeah, it's all there for sure.
Do not shy away from starting your players in this game.
Absolutely. As opposed to the first 4 games we covered in yesterday's video, these ones are much more offensively driven. The last 4 games were kind of premier defensive matchups. We were looking at like, oh man, avoid these games.
Right.
So this is the exact opposite. We've got some games here that have sneaky offensive upside where you could get the points and the plays start escalating. And those are the games you want to target in terms of fantasy upside. So if you've got players in these games and players in yesterday's games, I would lean the players in these games absolutely. Even if the projections are similar here, lean the guys that are in the premier matchups from these slated games for sure.
All right, man. 4 games.
We did it. Yep, and we should. There's 5 more games to cover. We'll do the next 5 in tomorrow's video. Get them out to the final 5 matchups for the week. We're looking good in that perspective, right? So, how to do it for ranking start sit.
All right, so that's gonna do it for us. Tune in next time where we're gonna bring you the last 5 games of the slate for the Tank Sinatra. This is Eddie Bravo. We're signing out. Join the militia!
Whoa!